In this lesson, we will discuss how to make your composition longer if you run out of time on your timeline. Okay, so I'm right here at the end of my composition, and I know that I'm wanting to create more animation at this point, but I'm out of time on my timeline. So I want to add some more time, and I'm going to do that through the composition settings. So come up here to composition settings, and you'll see that this is sitting at 17 seconds for its duration right now. Now, I'm not really sure how long I actually need my comp to be, so let's just say we'll add 15 seconds to the time we already have. So that's going to put us at a duration of 32 seconds. So go ahead and highlight, and we can just type in 32 right there. And then we'll say OK to that. And then I'm going to extend this out just so you can see how long this is now. Okay, so you'll notice that if I scrub this, we're going to run out of what is on our comp at that time. So we need to go in and extend the layers that we know we're still going to want after these end. So we're definitely going to want the null object. So I'm going to select that and drag that out, as well as the camera. And then I'm going to come down here, and I know that I'm going to still be probably looking at that grid. So I can come in there and we can pull this out here, and also the solid that is the pointer on the end of that. And the background as well. Now, right now, the background has been created as a separate composition. And so you can see that it ends here, and we're not able to extend that anymore, simply because it has this little black triangle in the upper corner. So I could go in and lengthen this comp size too, so that it has more time and I can drag that out. Or if I'm not animating this at all, I could always just go in and stretch this, which is usually the quickest way for layers like this background layer that I'm using here. So we need to open up the stretch column on our timeline. So come up here and just hover over mode or parent, either one of those that you have open, and you can right click that to open up the context menu. Then go to columns, stretch, and that's going to be at the very bottom of those. And now you see you have this stretch column, and everything says that it's 100%. So I'm just going to stretch this up to something right in there around almost 200%, and that's going to allow that background to extend through the rest of my comp. So now as I scrub this, you can see that we have a lot more time, and everything's extended to the end that we need. It doesn't look like anything is just cutting off way too early. So if we need to, we can go in later and extend the comp that we have for our puppet tool. But for now, this looks pretty good. Now, you may ask yourself, why can't I just add a really long time to my timeline and then get rid of it later? Why did we only add it in a 15-second increment? Well, you want to be careful that you don't add too much time to your timeline, because eventually, you'll get to a point where you're visually measuring the keyframe distance. So if you're almost always working on a project that's 30 seconds to a minute long, you set keyframes a lot of time just based on how far apart those keys are. And that distance changes whenever you have a really long composition. So this is going to be just a lot more difficult to zoom in and actually figure out how much time is in between those keys. And it'll just be really hard to get your animations looking the way that you want them to when you're used to working on shorter compositions. So that just helps you to be a little bit more efficient, and also just not have to deal with too much time on the timeline. So now that we have extra time here on our timeline, I want to go ahead and add a camera zoom. And because we've extended that null, we have plenty of space to do that. So I'm just going to move forward here, just right a little bit after when our person hits the ground. So right in there around 16 seconds, we'll just add another keyframe for our null's position. And then I'm going to move forward 12 frames. So go ahead and hold the shift key and hit that page down key once to move forward 10 frames. And then we'll hit page down 2 more times to move forward those 2 extra frames. And then I'm going to just kind of zoom in. And I want to frame this up where our person is kind of in the corner here of our composition. So I'm going to move this up a little bit and over So you can just kind of see how we're repositioning this. Now I don't want to get in too close because with this composition, since we're using the puppet tool, we're not able to use our collapse transformation option. So I don't want to get so close that he starts to look blurry. So just right about there where the top of his head is interacting with that first line of the title action safe grid. And one other thing I'm noticing here is that my videos are no longer completely off my comp. So I can just pull this back a little bit right there where I still am not seeing those anymore, and we can just clip that videos layer. So go ahead and pull this up just so you can see all of the layers on your timeline. And you'll notice that this layer right here is that videos layer. So you can drag that back to the current time indicator. And now when our camera zooms in, we won't see those layers anymore. So now we're ready to set up the next part of our shot, and we can use this area here to build our composition. So in this lesson, we learned how to extend the length of our comp if we didn't make it long enough in the beginning.